Ladies and gentlemen, something smells fishy, and this time I'm not talking about the Karens, although it could still be the Karens. They tend to smell like that. Anyway, apparently the CEO from Moon Studios is saying that his company isn't going to last much longer because of all the negative reviews, because, in not so many words, the modern audience is winning. I mean, we all saw how the modern audience showed up for Concord, right? We saw that. We were there. I was there. You were there. Mittens was there. I don't even know who Mittens is. I don't have anybody that is Mittens in my house. But somebody's Mittens was there. Anyway, let's get into this story. So here is the breakdown. Effectively, the Moon Studio CEO is saying that unless he starts getting positive reviews, his game studio is not going to last. So over here on Insider Gaming, from Grant Tyler Hill, anyone who doesn't include 5 T characters, Ori Studio CEO defends the closure comment. Recently, a story surfaced regarding Moon Studios, the developer behind the Ori series, and more recently of No Rest for the Wicked, an ARPG, and it was revealed that the studio had taken to Discord to plead for positive reviews for the team's latest game, stressing that the negative reviews and the review bombing could lead to a studio shutdown. The CEO, Thomas Mahler, I think is how that's pronounced, then appeared on X following a few articles covering his statements, altering and defending what he said very sketchily. I don't like this very sketchily thing here, although that's what I thought. I don't need you as the person writing the article to tell me that. Please stop doing that crap, okay? Just give us the facts as the audience. We're smart enough to figure it out. I skimmed through this article and figured it out. Anyway, in his rant, he suggested that crazies hating him for not including 5T characters or political BS in his games are to blame for negative reviews. And he did that. That's over on Twitter. I verified that before I decided to record the video. From bad to worse, in a recent article from Windows Central, that article has so much freaking fluff in it, it's ridiculous. It would take me an hour to read through it. It's there, a lot of fluff, not a lot of fact, and you'll get more from this article. But if you want to go over here to Insider Gaming, check this out. It's got all the links for you to fact check me because I feel that that's important. Moving on, revealed Thomas Mahler's Discord comments in which he said, if you're writing here and are enjoying Wicked and are excited for future updates, but haven't left a positive review, it's entirely possible we won't be around in a couple of months to do anything more simply because we got review bombed, which leads to people not buying the game, which means we're not making any money and we'll have to shut down. Mahler caught wind of an article and responded to it on social media, going on a rant against the press and those who hate against him and his brand on social media because of his past events and opinions. I mean, yet you can't hate journalists enough, so I'm kind of with him there. He slipped a bit, making some inflammatory comments. Okay. He said, I've been hated on Twitter by a few crazies for years now, and I also saw the calls for review bombing because according to those folks, I'm a bad guy from World War II. I don't know if any of these words are banned on YouTube, so I'm just doing my best to make sure that this gets seen by as many people as possible. So no, I don't care about these words, but YouTube does. Okay, these days, apparently anyone who doesn't include 5T characters in their game and doesn't let their product be influenced by political BS is a bad guy from World War II. What a world we live in. When the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, I replied on Twitter saying that Moon Studios would not be taking a public stance because we're a video game company, not a journalistic outlet. The next day, a threat letter with a picture of Putin was taped on my office door full of insults from top to bottom. Okay, if that actually did happen, that is unacceptable. Okay, he explained his earlier comments suggested that he was asking players who enjoyed No Rest for the Wicked to leave positive review and nothing further. This is where I get really skeptical. If you're going out there and asking your players for positive reviews, in my personal opinion, that means that you have made a game that doesn't warrant enough players going out and leaving you positive reviews. And don't worry, we'll pull up the Steam reviews here in a minute. He also mentioned that Moon Studios isn't in immediate financial danger and that the studio's 90-person team is still trying to create masterpieces. For the record, No Rest for the Wicked was rated mostly positive from 34,300 reviews at the time of publishing, so it's not as though the game is in a dire spot. Do you think Mahler is right to plead for users to leave positive reviews to battle back against review bombers? Let them know on the Insider Gaming forum. So to answer that question, no, I think if a game developer is like, hey, if you're liking our game, it's super awesome. It'd be great if you leave a review. I do have an issue when the game developer is like, hey, we might lose our jobs because we're not getting enough positive reviews. That's weird. And supposedly he said all of this before he said anything about the review bombing that was taking place. Please fact check me on that. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. But I believe that to be the case. Now, when I was looking into this, I was like, man, something just smells weird here. It doesn't pass the sniff test, the BS test. So what I did is I actually pulled up Steam and I actually just highlighted the negative reviews and went through a few of them. These are long. These are paragraphs breaking down individual issues with the games, frame rates, crashing, difficulty levels of the game, the way that their idea is good, but their execution isn't. And over here on Steam, ooh, that's a bad window. Over here on Steam, okay, this is from a guy who's played it for 44 hours, okay? This game suffers from probably the biggest lack of QOL features I've played in 30 plus years of gaming. While I love the art style and story to a degree, the combat, the rest feels half-baked, obtuse, and unnecessarily punitive to a point I found myself going, why? Multiple times in my playthrough. Here is just a short list. This is this guy's short list. And I read through this and all of it has to do with game mechanics. Bro, I think you need to look up a dictionary and find out what the word short means. This ain't short, my dude. Please, if you would, Rev Lost Oak, with 60 reviews on Steam, buy a dictionary and figure out what the word short means, because it doesn't mean 11 paragraphs. That's insane. This guy here says, reviewing the game on 01/05/2025 in case. Okay, the game is good. It's fun. It's effing hard. It's early access and hopefully has plenty of time for them to change the bad parts. I don't recommend the game right now in its current state unless you really want to try it. I'd say wait for a few patches or big updates down the line. At the moment, it's got mixed reviews because this latest patch released yesterday has either brought more players in who don't like the difficulty or changed up enough meta builds that the players before who got to a point where they could steamroll the content now can't, and they don't like the difficulty. So a lot of difficulty gripes here. He says, my real gripe right here, which is the MMO style mechanics. A community testing game with no multiplayer, having to wait real life days, weeks for quests to reset in a single player game. Shops that only seem to reset once per real life day. Crafting and smelting / refining materials take far too long. It's basically a mobile game style timer. And there are many more reviews like this. You can pull it up on Steam and check it out. Here's what got to me. When anybody says review bombing, that has been a trigger word for me for years, because review bombing essentially just means people don't like what you're doing. They go out, they're leaving their comments with you. Sometimes you get people that go into the comments and they are they're not good faith actors and they are not going to leave an earnest review. However, oftentimes, if you actually go and you look at the things that were review bombed, it's usually people who went, saw the thing and didn't like it. There's a couple of comments in there that say, oh, this is a political thing, and obviously use politically charged language. If you go in here and you read a lot of these, this has nothing to do with politically charged language, at least on Steam, unless they're nuking those reviews. I don't know. But the fact that this guy came out and basically said that the modern audience is tanking his studio got to me. Dude, the modern audience showed up for Concord and it was what, 2,000 people that played? I mean, come on. Everybody knows that the modern audience doesn't exist, and everybody knows that a lot of these Twitter activists don't really have any real power. Now, if you were making this claim back in 2019, when the media landscape was very, very, very different, people were getting canceled left and right, businesses were going out because of politically charged stuff that people were saying, yeah, I might believe you. That's something I can believe. But in the year of our Lord, 2025, no, I don't. I'm like, if you're saying that the modern audience is review bombing your game and your studio might not survive, maybe, just maybe that's true. But after going through this for the last half hour to hour before I got on, and I'd read the article already this morning, I'm starting to believe that this guy isn't being targeted by the modern audience. In fact, as we all know, the modern audience doesn't exist, and his game's just mediocre. It's batting at about a 74% over here on Steam for likes, for positive reviews to negative reviews. And let me pull that up. 16,500 reviews that match the filters above, which is my language. But yeah, out of 35,000 reviews, and it's sitting at about a 74%, something like that. Why can't I find it? Either way, you can't just go and claim culture war to sell your game. That again, a few years ago you could have, and that would have worked, and people would have rallied behind you. I would have even said as far as last year, 2024, if you would have said the culture war, it's I just wanted to make a good game, and it's just these culture war people that just really don't like my politics. But I decided to dig into this because I've heard that a lot, and I want to do my own research. I want to look into things for myself. And the fact of the matter is, dude, to be perfectly honest with you, you've got mostly positive review, meaning that, okay, you definitely made some people happy, but you didn't make enough people happy. Now, going out to your Discord and asking fans if they're enjoying it to review it positively, I got no issues with that. Coming out and then saying that it's being review bombed because of your political opinions, I'm not sure where that is. I'm here on Steam, but if there are other places where there are absolutely political opinions being shared, calling you the bad guy from World War II, share them, show them. But making a statement saying that the modern audience is tanking your game when with a modern audience can't make games succeed, how can they make games fail? I want people to really think about that. This is going to be something that's going to be very, very common for the next few years. The culture war stuff, essentially since 2014 when Gamergate kicked off, was absolutely insane. It was nauseating. The things that they were putting in games, the fights that we saw over on social media, all of that happened. That's fine. It's dying out. People, one, are tired of it, and two, a lot of that power and wielding that people had, they kind of realized was BS, and they don't have that anymore. It started disappearing in 2022. So either you're losing to the modern audience, which means that your game didn't have enough clout to succeed on its own, because we know that the modern audience can't make a game succeed, so by logic, they shouldn't be able to make a game fail. And two, you built a mediocre game, and your mediocre game isn't ready for the prime time, and you are going to fail because of that. To be perfectly honest, I'm kind of in the camp of, man, I would rather be remembered than mediocre, right? Concord was bad, and it will be remembered. But it sounds like No Rest for the Wicked isn't going to be remembered because, oh, it's just mediocre. And the fact of the matter is, you can't cry culture war and try to get people stirred up to help with your game because, one, a lot of people are moving on, and two, build a better game. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know, what do you think about game developers doing this? I really wanted to talk about this one because although it's a game that I completely freaking missed, I remember when it was announced and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Totally forgot about it. I think it launched last year sometime. Talked with my buddy about it today. He was like, oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? I pay attention to this stuff for the channel, and I forgot this game was here. But this reminded me of the game, and I'm probably going to forget about it tomorrow. Because what's more interesting about this is the fact that the developer is trying to get people whipped up into a frenzy and trying to defend his mediocre game by saying that people are attacking him. How about build a good game and people will review it well? Please see Expedition 33 if you need any review notes. Outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to A Drink with Crazy. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.